Welcome to the first WFOT virtual exchange. I'm Karen Jacobs, and it's with great pleasure that I introduce Marilyn Pattison, the president of WFOT. Welcome, Marilyn.
Thank you, Karen, and hello everybody who's joining us online as we speak on today, World Occupational Therapy Day 2018. What a great way to be celebrating. I'd like to say a special thank you to the Journal Work for collaborating with us for this webinar. And I think we've got a very special event happening today. I'm going to give you a bit of an overview of what WFOT has been doing in the last little while. And then I'm very excited to let you know that I have two occupational therapists from the Kazakhstan Ergotherapy Association with me. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about occupational therapy and its development in Kazakhstan. So welcome to World Occupational Therapy Day, celebrating our global community. And we are indeed today a global community. WFOT is the global voice for occupational therapy, and it sets the standard for practice. We exist because as a worldwide body, we represent the occupational therapy profession in its role of improving world health and well-being. What do we do and how do we do it? Well, we're a global network of 101 member organizations representing 550,000 occupational therapists. We set the standard for occupational therapy practice internationally and practice excellence through and promote excellence through research and education. We raise awareness for the profession and provide a platform to celebrate and exchange the diversity of our members. And we facilitate the profession to enable engaged, meaningful lives for everyone, encouraging occupational therapy excellence. We are here for a global community of occupational therapists seeking to improve their practice, occupational therapy's recognition on an international level, and understanding the wider world health context. We are the occupational therapists' platform for debate and knowledge, and their support for research and credentials. WFOT, sorry, the slide got stuck. WFOT was established in 1952 following an inaugural meeting represented by 10 national occupational therapy associations: Australia, Canada, Denmark, India, Israel, New Zealand, South Africa, Sweden, the United Kingdom, and the United States of America. Our World Council meeting meets every 2 years and is attended by a delegate from a member organisation, and only full members of the Federation can vote. And a full member is a member organisation that has a national association and at least one WFOT approved education programme. The elected executive management team, who meet every year and are responsible for the operational delivery of the business. And we have agreed strategic and operational plans and budgets to prioritise and manage the work that we undertake. We have 4 programme areas: leadership and advocacy, and we are finding and supporting the voices in occupational therapy to enhance our role in world health and well-being. In education, we are enabling excellence in occupational therapy and promoting its global growth and development. In research, we are discovering new ways for occupational therapy to evolve through broad and deep collaboration across the profession. And in practice development, we are fostering a global quality of practice that is relevant and sensitive to context and culture. And WFOT is continually reviewing these programme areas to make sure that they are relevant, pertinent, and contemporary. We have a strategic plan, and the new one is commencing next year, and will run from 2019 to 2024. And each programme area has its own priorities. Time today, unfortunately, won't allow me to go into them all. However, this information is readily available from the WFOT website. Today, we have 101 member organisations. The ones that are in the darker shade are our full member organisations. We have 73 full members. And we have 21 associate members. And as you can see, Kazakhstan is one of our associate members and joined the World Federation in 2016. And when our colleagues talk to you about occupational therapy in Kazakhstan, you will see just what a remarkable feat this has been. And the memberships that you can see on the right-hand side of the screen are our regional members, our regional groups. So this shows the number of WFOT member organisations by decade. So as you can see, in the 1950s, we had 12 member organisations. And now today, in 2018, we have 101. So in 1952, we had 10 organisations. In 2018, 101. That's a 91% increase in WFOT member organisations in the last 18 years. So occupational therapy is on the move. We represent the profession at a global level by influencing and collaborating with international stakeholders. And these are some of the examples of who we collaborate with. So we collaborate, one of our major collaborations is with the World Health Organization. But we also collaborate with other international non-government organizations, such as Humanity and Inclusion, the International Society for Prosthetics and Orthotics, the International Society of Wheelchair Professionals, the World Confederation for Physical Therapy, the Cochrane Collaboration, and Motivation, to name but a few. And these are some of the examples of our inputs and outputs with the World Health Organization, and we work across many departments within the World Health Organization. So in mental health, we provide experts and respond to consultations about mental health and substance abuse, as well as collaborating on competency development for the delivery of psychological interventions. In human resources, WFOT publishes and shares demographic information about the profession, and I'm going to share some of that with you a little later in this presentation. We develop strategies to address ethical recruitment, retention and migration in conjunction with WHO policy. And we provide evidence to ensure occupational therapy is included in the rehabilitation workforce planning. In ageing and health, we provide evidence on models of care that promote functional ability. We develop education guidance materials to support healthy ageing, for example, with accessible environments and age-friendly cities. And we've actually established a WFOT international review team for health and ageing. WFOT is the WHO Family of International Classifications Network, and WFOT provides experts and consultation on the development and review of the classifications, as well as disseminating and advocating for the implementation locally. And of course, one of our major focuses in this area is the International Classification of Functioning, and most recently, the International Classification of Health Interventions. And finally, DAW, which is Disability and Rehabilitation. And WFOT work extensively with DAW. And one of the reasons that I am in Kazakhstan at the moment is at the invitation of WHO through Disability and Rehabilitation to attend the global the Global Congress on Primary Healthcare. So WFOT have established a Rehabilitation Services Advisory Team. We provide formal statements on non-communicable diseases. We provide experts and respond to consultations on disability and rehabilitation. And we have piloted the WHO Assistive Technology Training Package. My role here in Kazakhstan at the Congress was to work as part of our collaboration with the World Confederation for Physical Therapy and the International Society for Physical and Rehabilitation Medicine to discuss, negotiate, and coordinate the inclusion of rehabilitation onto the global primary healthcare agenda. So these are some of our facts and figures. As we said earlier, we have 550,000 practicing occupational therapists worldwide. We have over 900 approved education programs worldwide that meet the WFOT minimum standards for education. I think at the last count we actually had 906. We have 63,000 practicing occupational therapy assistants worldwide. And we have 100,000 occupational therapy students studying in WFOT approved programs. As I said earlier, the occupational therapy profession is growing, it's getting bigger, it's getting stronger, and it's on the move. Every 2 years, we undertake a demographic scan of the WFOT member organisations, most recently in 2018. We had a 98% response rate from 86 member organisations. And the data is available on the WFOT website at www.wfot.org. This slide is very busy, but it does show the number of practicing occupational therapists around the world. The very large number on the left, of course, is the United States. The second largest number of occupations, and the United States has 142,000 occupational therapists. In the middle, we have Japan with around 75,000, and then in third is Germany with about 59,000. So these are large groups of occupational therapists, but the other numbers are growing as well. This shows the number of occupational therapists per 10,000 head of population. And the largest number is 16, and that is in Denmark. And then next to that is 15, which is the Faroe Islands. Sweden is 11, Norway is 9, and Iceland is 9. So we have very high numbers of occupational therapists per 10,000 head of population within the Scandinavian region. And of course, this gives us all something to be aiming for in our own countries. And this is the number of WFOT approved programs. So again, the large number is the United States of America with 235. Then the second largest number is Japan with 164, and then Germany with 131. And there are still many, many programs around the world that are not WFOT approved. And we are working actively with them to assist them to gain that WFOT approval. This is the number of occupational therapy assistants in member organisations country. And again, the largest number are in the United States with 57,000 or 58,000. And then the rest spread across a range of countries in Europe and Africa mainly. So the total number at the end of the survey was 527,997. We use the number 550,000 as a bit of poetic license, really, but you also need to understand that these are the occupational therapists in member countries, and we know that there are some countries who are not members of WFOT, where there are substantial numbers of occupational therapists working. The total number of WFOT approved education programs is 906. The number of occupational therapy students studying in WFOT approved education programs is around that 100,000, and then occupational therapists around the 63,000. So between 2006-2018, we have seen a 96% increase in the number of occupational therapists worldwide. We've seen a 68% increase in the number of WFOT education programs. We've seen a 29% increase in students, in the number of students in the approved education programs, and a 49% increase in the number of occupational therapy assistants. And I can reassure you all that if the 20th century was the century of medicine and cure, the 21st century is the century of rehabilitation, and this century will be a script for occupational therapy and our growth and development well into the future. So as we've said, we have 101 member organisations worldwide. We have over 40,000 individual members across the globe and growing. WFOT is actively supporting over 30 countries who are establishing the profession. So these are countries who are wanting to develop national associations to gain WFOT membership. For those of you that don't know, WFOT is managed by volunteers, and we all donate our time and expertise to the profession, but none of the executive management team hold a paid position within the organisation. And the WFOT website generates 750,000 page views from 192 different countries and has over 35,000 followers on social media. We receive 75,000, well, we receive more than 75,000. We respond to 75,000 emails every year. We reach 45,000 people on social media, which includes Facebook and Twitter. And we have 15,000 subscribers to our e-newsletter. And if you are an individual member of WFOT and you're not receiving the e-newsletter, it means that you need to go to the website and register on the website as a member. And your membership number for your national association will be your login. And once you're actually registered on the website, you will start to receive the newsletter. We use a broad range of communication strategies, and we also have a large number of resources. Of course, we have our website, which I'm sure many of you have visited, and exciting news, we will be launching our new improved website in the very near future, so watch this space. Facebook, our Facebook page is very active, and we are continuously posting job opportunities and updates about WFOT. On the website itself, we have a resource centre, which contains a whole range of resources which are all fully downloadable and in a number of different languages. We have YouTube as well as Twitter. And then most recently, we relaunched Ocean, which is our occupational therapy international online network, which offers a range of forums across a whole range of areas. And the ones you can see there are practice, education, students working in another country. But I think there's about 13 forums on there now. As I said, we have translations into a range of languages, and the e-newsletter is published it's published 4 times a year. These are the position statements that have been endorsed by WFOT and are used frequently and regularly to support submissions on a whole range of issues. World Occupational Therapy Day, the reason we're all here today, I guess, was first launched on the 27th of October 2010. And it was launched as a strategy to try and involve students more actively within WFOT. But since then, it has been embraced by students and practitioners alike, and it's now become an important date in the occupational therapy calendar to promote and celebrate the profession internationally. And we have a range of promotional materials available on the WFOT website. And following World Occupational Therapy Day, we will also be putting onto the website the photographs of a whole range of activities that are occurring as we speak around the world. And the inventiveness and creativity of these activities amazes me every single year. The WFOT Bulletin is published twice a year with free online access for individual members of WFOT. And you can purchase print copies. We also offer library subscriptions for anybody who is listening from institutions. And of course, our International Congress, and I feel quite confident that some of you would have attended the one in South Africa this year, which was so impactful. People are still talking about it, and I think will for some time to come. The Congress takes place once every 4 years. It's a premier global event for the occupational therapy profession, and it provides professional development and networking with thousands of participants. We had 2,500 occupational therapists in South Africa, and at the 2014 Congress in Japan, we had 6,500 occupational therapists, and it is really sometimes quite overwhelming to try and imagine that many people in one room. And the 18th WFOT Congress will take place in Paris, France in 2022. So we invite you all to join us for the Occupational Revolution. Some recent publications. We have recently published our research priorities, which include effectiveness of occupational therapy interventions, evidence-based practice and knowledge translation, participation in everyday life, healthy aging, occupational therapy and chronic conditions, sustainable community development and population-based interventions, technology in occupational therapy, and occupational therapy professional issues. And as you can see, these research priorities tie in and are strongly linked to the strategies that WHO are currently working on and that WFOT is working on with WHO. We have our online course is available in disaster management for occupational therapists. And if any of you are thinking of working in this area, I would strongly advise that you undertake the course. It's interactive, it's highly creative. There's a textbook that goes with it, and it takes about, I think it's a 5-module course. And we've had exceptional feedback about the course. We've had over 100 occupational therapists participated in it to date. The minimum standards for the education of occupational therapists was revised in 2016 and has recently been published. We are the only health profession in the world to have internationally recognised, monitored and reviewed standards for our education of occupational therapists. We are the gold standard in health education globally, and we should be extremely proud of that. We recently published Sustainability Matters, which are guiding principles for sustainability in occupational therapy practice, education and scholarship, as well as the WFOT Student Guide for International Practice Placements. We receive hundreds and hundreds of inquiries every year from students who want to undertake practice placements in countries outside of their own. So what makes WFOT unique? We have a long-standing relationship and outputs with WHO and other international organisations and international NGOs. And next year we will celebrate our 60th anniversary of our collaboration with WHO. We are also part of the United Nations, and as a result we have direct collaboration by the UN as a member of the DPI NGO International Network. We're also signatories to the UN Global Compact. We have a direct overview and global interaction mechanisms pertaining to international policy and directives that are mandated to the WHO member states. For example, that is the government organisations. We synthesise the delivery of occupational therapy services and education worldwide to establish global benchmarks that are both audited and reviewed. And as I said earlier, we are the only health profession that does this. We provide internationally accepted guidance and standards through position statements, education standards and competencies. This enables global interaction and synergies through networking with platforms like Ocean, marketing, research, international evidence-based or evidence-informed practice through our peer-reviewed journal, as well as a World Congress. And we can gain economies of scale because we can harness expertise and international perspectives on various subject areas through our international review teams and our international advisory groups. And if any of you have participated in the review teams or the international advisory groups, then I send you my personal thanks for your contribution and your commitment to WFOT. WFOT provides the international repository and archive for the profession, and our history is archived at the Wellcome Library in London. WFOT coordinates the global and interactive media to celebrate the international profile of the profession, and we've talked about our 35,000 followers on social media. And we have outstanding knowledge and understanding of the occupational therapy profession in most cultures of the world through our member organisations. We also support the regional conferences, and the ones that are coming up from our 4 regional groups are the Occupational Therapy Africa Regional Group, which will be in 2019 in Rwanda. Our Latin American group, which will be in 2019 in Argentina. Our Council of Occupational Therapists for the European Communities, which will be in 2020 in the Czech Republic. And our Asia Pacific Occupational Therapists Regional Group, which will be in 2020 in the Philippines. And so this is our contact information, and you can find us in any of these places. And of course, we love to hear from people. We would love for you to be one of the 75,000 emails that we respond to every year. So now I'm going to bring in my colleagues from Kazakhstan. So with me today, I've got Gerdine Locke and Petra Magerl, from the Kazakhstan Ergotherapy Association. Gerdine is the president and Petra is one of the board members. And they're going to talk to us about occupational therapy in Kazakhstan. So first of all, can you tell us a little bit about yourselves and how long you've been an OT and working in Kazakhstan? So Gerdine, I'll ask you first.
Well, thank you. It's great to celebrate the World Occupational Therapy Day with a lot of you all over the world. And yeah, my name is Gerdine Locke. I'm originally from the Netherlands, so you have to put up with my Dutch accent here. I graduated in 2006 from Amsterdam University and have been working as an OT ever since. I moved to Kazakhstan 7 years ago, in 2011, and have been working in the south of the country ever since.
Yeah. So Petra, now Petra's got some problems with a bit of a sore throat and a cough today, so we'll do our best. We're all cuddling up on a sofa while we yell at the computer.
Prior to coming to Kazakhstan 2 years ago, fiddling around in community pediatrics, also in the south of Kazakhstan.
Great. So how many OTs are there in Kazakhstan and what are the main areas of practice?
So there's a total of 4 of us, Gerdine and myself, second OT from the Netherlands, and Linda, secretary, who's from South Africa, and we're all doing our best while we manage working and living in another country. And just given our background in skills and experiences, we're all working in pediatrics.
Okay, so Gerdine, what are the priority areas for developing the profession in Kazakhstan? And from what Petra's just told us, I think it sounds like everything.
Yes, exactly. I don't know how much time we have for this to answer this question, but lots of time. I think first of all, I would like to say that Kazakhstan is a huge country. So, for example, we are right now in the capital, which is Astana. We live in the south, so for me to come up to Astana, it will take 26 hours by train just to travel in the country. So just to give you an idea of distance here, it's not easy to see other therapists, and I think that's one of the reasons why we started our association a couple of years ago, to be connected more to each other. Thinking of the main areas of developing OT in Kazakhstan, it's really, I think, two areas which are really big. One area is education. As we look into developing occupational therapy, we come basically from nothing. This is an occupation that is not known in the country, and we're trying our best to grassroots spread the word of what occupational therapy is. We try to model it by showing people, by practicing it. But that's really a big area of development where our big goal is really to have one day an occupational therapy degree here in Kazakhstan. That will be a day to celebrate, and we have the goal, and we know it's possible to have it one day, but in order to get there, there are many steps to be taken, and I think a big step is really to work closely with the government here. We start to have connections with the healthcare departments. At the moment, Kazakhstan is really in a place where we can see a lot of development happening in healthcare, which is really exciting, but we lack capacity. So like Petra said, we have 4 OTs at the moment in country, which is really not a lot for such a huge country. But on the other hand, we are really amazed to see like the impact we can make, small scale and also bigger scale, I think, through our association. So that's one part of what is needed. One area is the whole education. The other part is really focusing on the practice of occupational therapy in the area of rehabilitation. Yeah, as I said, like healthcare is improving, which means that people get older, are more healthy, and therefore live longer. But we also see that a lot of people, for example, with arthritis or diabetes, sickness related to smoking, yeah, these people really need rehabilitation and help in how to live with a good quality of life. And I think this is an area that is not developed yet, and this is exactly an area where we as occupational therapists can jump in and show, make a difference. It's happening on small scale. We would like to see this happening all over the country, working closely together again with the government, with the healthcare departments, which is very key to the work that we are doing.
Fantastic. Thanks, Gerdine. So we have to talk about WFOT, of course. So how important is the relationship with WFOT, and how does it support you in your work?
So WFOT, I grew up calling it WFOT as an Australian.
WFOT.
They've been really quite influential and instrumental in getting us up and running as an association.
Please speak closer.
Sorry, I'm trying. I was just saying that WFOT has been instrumental in getting us up and running as an association here in Kazakhstan.
Hi, we need you to speak closer.
Okay, I've pretty much got my nose to the computer. I was just saying the WFOT has been instrumental in getting here, the Kazakhstan Ergotherapy Association up and going here. They've provided the documents and the steps that we needed to take in order to become an associate member. And also
continue to provide those steps to maintain that. Providing, getting newsletters up and running and that sort of thing. On a more ongoing basis, it's really easy to feel a little bit by ourselves. There's the four of us, and in this country, that's it. So to know that we're part of a bigger community and that we can connect with other OTs all around the world who are doing similar things is really encouraging and really helpful.
Can I add one thing to this?
Yes.
I think added to what Petra is saying is also, yeah, the idea of having the WFOT with us gives us the feeling that it's sustainable, what we are doing. We are on our own, but we are not. And that's great to know that one day we might leave, but hopefully by then there is a whole group of local Kazakh occupational therapists who are connected to the WFOT. And therefore, yeah, I think it also gives a good quality of care and the profession that is being developed here. I think for us as KIA here in Kazakhstan, it's very key to know that we are part of this bigger community, like Petra was saying, but at the same time, it's something that is sustainable and something that helps us to give good quality therapy. I think that's very key to developing the profession here.
Fabulous. So how can people find out more about education and practice in Kazakhstan?
There are different ways. You can find our contact information through the WFOT website. Our email is up there on our website. If you connect with us, you can also sign up for our newsletter. We do write about the work that we are doing here. So if you would like to be connected to us, we would love to hear from you. And you don't have to be in Kazakhstan. We would love to stay connected to people, especially those who would love to think with us and help us to develop the occupational therapy here. And I think very key at this point is that we are looking into developing a curriculum for occupational therapy, which is not known yet. So for those who are listening, spread the word of what is needed in Kazakhstan. We would love to speak to you and be in contact with you. We are on Facebook. Yeah, you can find us there on the KIA, but all the information, yeah, go to the WFOT website, and we would love to hear from you.
Okay, so I guess we've tried very hard to allow some time for questions, and I've seen some coming in on the chat line. So, Karen, can I hand back to you? Moderate the questions for us.
Thank you all so very much. Interesting. Let me read you a couple of the questions here. We have people from all over the world saying happy Occupational World OT Day, so that's to everyone. We have someone who would like to know about WFOT's role with students. What is the role for students, and how can a student get involved?
Okay, well, students can be involved with WFOT much the same way as anyone can be involved.
Yeah, please go closer to the mic.
Oh, no, it's not very often I have to speak up, I'll tell you. So with OT students, as you're aware, many countries have occupational therapy student memberships to the national associations, and we can offer the same membership through WFOT. And we often have students who volunteer to participate in our projects. At any given moment in time, we're running up to 80 projects. We've had some amazing inputs from students at all levels, from undergraduate students right through to PhD students, some of whom have written publications for us. So all of the projects can be viewed on the WFOT website. And you know, if students are particularly interested in contributing, and it doesn't have to be a whole project, it can be a task, or if students have got some information that they feel is relevant to share, then, you know, of course we would love to hear about it. There is a student discussion group on the online forum, and we'd certainly ask you to participate actively in that. We have had students who may have done international placements or interesting projects who have contributed to the WFOT e-newsletter via short articles. So, and of course, you know, the other way that we really would love students to be involved is in supporting World Occupational Therapy Day, and perhaps thinking about undertaking some fundraising activities so that they can support the projects for WFOT, and or donate to the WFOT grants program, which assists occupational therapists and students from low to middle income countries to attend the WFOT World Congress. But we're open to suggestions, and we would love to hear from students.
Thank you, Marilyn. We have going around here in the Boston area for Global Day of Service, we are collecting food that we're going to bring to a food pantry, and that's what our students are doing, which is quite exciting. So we have a couple more questions. We have a question about WFOT's research priorities. They'd like a little bit more information about that, and could you point them to where they can read more about it in a thorough nature?
Okay, so the publication can be downloaded from the WFOT website, and that's where you get all the information about it, basically. It really is that easy. But as I said when I spoke about them, the research priorities, they are closely aligned with the major health priorities from World Health Organization. So if we look at the kinds of information that's been coming from World Health Organization, then what you will see is the World Report on Disability, the Action Plan on Disability, the World Report on Health and Aging, the Action Plan on Health and Aging, the Global Strategies on NCDs, the Global Cooperation on Assistive Technology, or GATE. So these are all driving the research priorities for WFOT, and I think, and then of course there's some others which are more internally focused around occupational therapy practice. So hopefully that, yeah, good.
Yeah, thank you, Marilyn. We have lots and lots of questions coming in. This one is, how can WFOT help occupational therapy practitioners looking to practice internationally?
Okay, so again, we have a document that is called Requirements to Work in Other Countries. And in that document, you will find the requirements to work in every member country of WFOT. So that will tell you what's required in the way of registration requirements, educational requirements, tell you a little bit about the country. We also have information about our member organisations on the WFOT website with all of the contact details for each of those organisations.
Great, Marilyn, thank you. We have a question from a student in Turkey, and she's in her third class, and she said OT is not known in Turkey. I'd like to know what can be done to help people really better understand occupational therapy in her country.
Absolutely. And look, just a word of reassurance. We hear this all the time from many countries. So, you know, occupational therapy is only just now becoming well established, and it takes a while for people to get to understand what it is we do and why we do it. But again, WFOT offers a whole range of promotional products which are available on the WFOT website. And as a student in the university, you know, there's a great opportunity for you to be educating other students about occupational therapy. You know, start putting up posters around the university, or perhaps, you know, hold some demonstrations of the kinds of things that we do. But people won't learn about occupational therapy if we don't tell them. Yeah, so Gerdine also has a similar issue here in Kazakhstan. So she's just going to add to what I'm saying.
Yeah, so I think this is this question, I don't know who asked the question.
She needs to go closer to the microphone.
Okay. I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, we can. Perfect.
Here in Kazakhstan, it's the same situation where we introduce ourselves and we say, hey, I'm an occupational therapy, and you get like a blank face, like no idea what that is. And I think what we have found in the last few years, we started 3 years ago, is that it's really a top-down and a bottom-up approach. So from bottom-up, whether you're a student in a working place or wherever you are, spread the word and spread the news of what OT is. And it can be done through, like, we have flyers, we have a website, we have a newsletter, we explain wherever we can, we do presentations. And sometimes it seems like doing a presentation for people that might not be working as OTs in the future, but they then become the ones that continue sharing about occupational therapy because they have heard from you. So I think that's one, don't underestimate your role that you can play in sharing what occupational therapy is by telling people about it. Yeah, on the other end is the more top-down approach where there's no occupational therapy, which means you can't get a job in the country as an occupational therapist. So the way to go is really to network within the government, within the healthcare department, to find those people that want to partner with you. And I think as a student, that's of course difficult, but I think there are definitely ways where there might be interactions that you can share, even with those that are in higher positions, about what occupational therapy is. And I think here what we find is especially sharing stories of how people have been impacted by occupational therapy. That really changed people's perspective, because when we share about a Kazakh boy who was in the village, not able to go to school, not able to go out to play with his friends, through another occupational therapist, he got a walker, and after some practice, he was able to go out and even manage to go to school. These are stories that touch people's heart, and these are stories that show that we add to quality of life of people. And I think try to find those local stories that are for your culture and your context really relevant and will touch people's heart. I think that as a student especially, go out and spread those stories.
That's such great advice, and I thought I would share a bit of a story too. And again, everything needs to be culturally relevant. So one initiative that seems to resonate with many cultures is the heavy backpacks that children are carrying. And I encourage in your country and others to think about how you can partner to help people become more aware of how to select the right backpack, how to pack it correctly and wear it correctly. And that seems to resonate really well with the community. And then you say, I'm an occupational therapy student or occupational therapy therapist or practitioner. And that association with helping children and college students and people in general who wear backpacks stay healthy. And we've been doing that for over 20 years. And what's very interesting about it, it seems to attract the media. And, you know, if you can reach out to the media and let the media know what occupational therapy is, that's another way of having our message and the importance and distinct value of OT come alive. So let me go on to another question. So thank you.
Karen,
yes.
Can I just add something? For the student from Turkey, of course, the other thing that I would encourage you to do is to join the Turkish Occupational Therapy Association and you know, work with them in terms of raising the profile as well, just as a background.
Great.
Sorry, go on, Karen.
Oh, no, great, Marilyn. That's such good advice. So here's another question, and this one is from Emily. She says, how does a program become WFOT approved?
Okay, so it's quite a complicated process, but we actually, during the presentation, I showed you the booklet, the minimum standards. And so basically, when a curriculum has been written for an occupational therapy education program, it is measured against those standards. So before the curriculum is written, we would provide that information to the university so that they can make sure that they incorporate those standards into the curriculum. They then submit that curriculum. If it's the first curriculum or first education program in the country, then they would submit that to WFOT along with the supporting documents that are required, including a self-evaluation. WFOT would then get 3 international curricular experts to review the curriculum and provide feedback. If the curriculum meets the standards, then the program becomes WFOT approved. If there is feedback, then the university is given the opportunity to address the feedback and then resubmit the application until the program becomes approved. Now, if there is more than one education program in the country, because the education programs have to be reapproved every 5 to 7 years. So you don't just get approval and then it stays like that forever. So we have an approval and a reapproval process. But if there are already approved programs in the country, then we encourage our member organisations to set up their own internal approval process. However, before they can implement that approval process, they have to again submit it to WFOT to make sure that WFOT approves of the approval process. And that is also reviewed fairly regularly. So it's quite a lot of work, but once you have the approval, the reapproval process is not quite so arduous.
Thank you, Marilyn. Clarissa has a message, and she says, does the WFOT have a role or advice about how to develop leadership? And this is very important, particularly in a demographically relatively young country.
The short answer is no, we don't. We have, we focus far more on national leadership. So we really are working very closely with our member organisations to, I guess, enable them to become the leaders for the profession in their country. As I explained during the presentation, we are a volunteer organisation, so we're all volunteers, and all the resources that we produce are also produced by volunteers, and so we do have to prioritise, and wherever possible we do try and address individual development issues. However, by and large, those issues are dealt with within the countries themselves. So, for example, I know that the United States has a fantastic and very sophisticated leadership development program, and this also occurs in other countries. But at the moment, WFOT does not have the resources to do that. Now, having said that, it doesn't mean that we wouldn't look at something like that as a project. So, you know, if you have suggestions of what that leadership program may look like or what you feel your needs are, we would be very happy for you to email us and we could put it into one of the program areas and perhaps look at developing it as a project. It wouldn't happen next week, it might not happen next year, but it would certainly get it onto the WFOT agenda.
Thank you, Marilyn. Janine asked, in which countries is OT most established? And I believe you said that in your presentation. But she wants to know, how did it come to these huge differences between countries?
It's probably, to be perfectly honest, it'll be length of time in the profession, in the length of time since the profession was established. In 2017, we celebrated the 100th anniversary of the United States Occupational Therapy Association. So it's hardly surprising that they would have the largest number of occupational therapists. It's also a reflection in the United States of the size of the population. So as a percentage of the population, and you know, if you think about that slide where I showed the numbers of occupational therapists per 10,000 head of population, the majority of the numbers are around about the same level, with some of the countries that have come into WFOT most recently having much lower numbers, and also with the Scandinavian OTs skewing it towards the higher numbers. But the vast majority of our members are around about the same numbers per head of population. It's just if you're in a country with a small population, it looks like there are more OTs, you know, there'd be less OTs in order to meet that, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does, Marilyn. And I think we have time for one more question here, and this is from Athens, Greece, and this is FD, and she's interested in the political perspective of OT and the notion of active dimensions of contemporary society, in the sense of how do we, as occupational therapy practitioners and students, help to change society.
Okay, well, again, you know, if you look at the WFOT position papers statements, we have a number of statements around this. We have a number of statements around human rights. We have statements addressing social inclusion. You know, I like to think that as occupational therapists, we're international professional citizens, and that we are all actively working towards making the world and society a better place by supporting the UN and the WHO goals, such as the Sustainable Development Goals, by actually, as well as talking the talk, that we are walking the walk. So we are involved in sustainable practice, and sustainability is very much an environmental issue, but I also like to think about sustainability of relationships, and we can't sustain relationships if we don't treat each other with respect and in an ethical way that people deserve, that we all deserve to be treated. So it's about continuously demonstrating human kindness, human compassion, and human understanding.
Marilyn, what a wonderful conclusion to today. And the last question that we have from Jeffrey was, what skill set would you like to see OT students improve upon in order to help them collectively push the professional competency as a whole? And I think what you just said is so important. Are there any last comments that you'd like to make before we conclude this first WFOT virtual exchange?
Well, I would like to say to the students, but also to the occupational therapists, I think this is my little soapbox now, but I think one of the most important things that is missing from our approach, if you like, is our confidence in our competence. And I think that and this is a joke, so please take it as a joke, but I think the physiotherapists in their education programs have a module called Supreme Confidence and I Can Do Anything, even if I don't know what I'm doing. And we don't really have that module in our undergraduate programs. So we have to really start believing in ourselves, because we are stupendous practitioners. Occupational therapists work miracles on a day-by-day basis, and I see it. I employ occupational therapists and I see the outcomes that they get, but we have to believe in ourselves and stop thinking that somehow people are going to find us out to be frauds, that we don't really know what we're doing, because we do. So we must be confident in our clinical reasoning and clear about why we're doing what we're doing, and not be told by other professions that they can do what we can do, because they can't do it. I never wanted to be a second-class anything, and I am not going to support other professions undertaking our work and pretending to be second-class occupational therapists. And I know that in this webinar today that every one of you listening is or will become a first-class occupational therapist. But we have to shout it from the rooftops and let people know we do know what we're doing, and we're very good at it.
Marilyn, that's such a wonderful way to conclude this. And I want to add one more statement to that. We all need to be courageous and have moral courage as well, because these are challenging times. But our profession is there to help and to help people live life to its fullest. Marilyn, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Gerdine and Petra. It was a joy, and we will make this recording available to WFOT. And I know, Marilyn, people would like to get hold of your PowerPoint as well.
Okay.
So thank you, everybody, for joining us. And we'll conclude.
Thank you very much, and thank you for moderating, Karen. You've done a fantastic job.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you, and happy World Occupational Therapy Day. Please celebrate.
Yes, happy World Occupational Therapy Day to you all, and thanks for joining.